What's up, you guys? I'm back with a new view of the new for the YouTube. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell twice for post notifications. That's awesome! Today, we'll be reacting to P.Diddy getting denied bail twice. Just give me a second, y'all. I'm trying to roll up. Because this is crazy, man. I was born in 1990, and I never would have thought. Now, some things be looking crazy. You know, you see celebrities do shit and whatever, but you really don't got no factual basis. So you let the shit slide or whatever. You don't really be thinking about shit. When shit like this happen, shit start to come out with videos. It's just crazy, man. You know, I don't judge nobody. And that's one thing about it. A lot of people on the internet, oh, he do this and do that. A lot of these motherfuckers be doing worse shit. So, you know, I don't want to hear that shit. I want to see, you know, this don't make me not like Diddy or no shit like that. But it is interesting to see what's going to unfold. So, just give me a second, y'all, so I can roll up this backwood. Good old Russian. We can get it cracked. Got my drink together. I hope y'all got y'all drinks. Whatever it is y'all do, hope it ain't no hard drugs. Like crack. A little bit too much. Fed. That's too much. Pill, stop. You know what I'm saying? Get you some good weed. Get you a shot of some dark or some light or some tequila. Or some wine, motherfucker. Beer. I fuck with beer too. All that extra shit. That's out. You're gonna turn into a dude that's eating people and shit. Never to stop. See, that's another thing. Diddy got a problem too, man. It ain't people not looking at that like that because it's like, and I can't blame them because you've been in the industry so long, bro. It's not like, I mean, you was doing shit with churches and all type of shit. So, I don't know. It's interesting to watch though. Let's get to it. Let's see what they talk about with Diddy because I've been working. I ain't been able to upload, y'all. My bad. What's up, y'all? Hope y'all having a beautiful Friday. Y'all gonna go out, be safe. You know what I'm saying? Don't be shooting the club up, smacking motherfuckers upside the head with bottles. Relax, listen to some music, and make it home. You know what I'm saying? Make it home to your kids if you got kids. Or just make it home. You know what I'm saying? Go home with somebody. Don't drive home. This nigga's gonna be drunk. For shit, shit. Alright. Let's do it. See what they got to talk about. Law and crime. Damn, that's tight. They got the number of the suicide crisis and other shit if you need it. So if y'all need it and y'all feeling suicidal, go down here, call 988 whatever. For sure. But you shouldn't want to feel like that. Life is beautiful. I don't care what you're going through. You woke up. Now let's go back because my ass was talking. I ain't hear nothing this lady said. Alright.
Not only is P. Diddy behind bars, but now he's on suicide watch in one of the most dangerous jails in the country. Here's everything we know so far about Diddy's life on the inside. I'm Sierra Gillespie, and this is Law and Crime News. It's been a big week for 54-year-old Sean Diddy Combs, kicking it off with a federal indictment on Monday, and now we're getting word that he's on suicide watch. He's being held at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, in the Eastern New York Judicial District, much to the dismay of his legal team. Earlier this week, Diddy filed for bond 2 separate times. His attorneys writing in the motions that MDC is not fit for pretrial detention. They even requested he be transferred out of New York to Essex County in New Jersey, but it was ultimately up to the Bureau of Prisons to decide where he ended up. Sure. According to Diddy's legal team, an inmate was murdered at MDC just this summer, and at least 4 inmates have died by suicide over the past 3 years.
Man.
Now, their client is on suicide watch, meaning he's separated from traditional prison housing. It's unclear whether he's actually suicidal or if it's just a safety precaution, but we do know a mental health professional visits his cell at least several times a day. The U.S. Department of Justice Institute of Corrections describes suicide watch as supervisory precautions taken for suicidal inmates that require frequent observation. So what does all that mean? For that, we go to criminal defense attorney Mike Corbanix. One of the reasons that P. Diddy's attorneys were saying we don't want him there is because they say it's really dangerous. There have been suicides, there have been murders, apparently. Is that true? Do you think it's a pretty dangerous place?
No, they know that shit dangerous. I don't know why they going on
Would
there.
you be interested in collecting 5-figure
like
paychecks for a few hours of work?
Motherfuckers ain't dying and they eating right, and that motherfucker ain't getting water. Then this jail's all over the place. As much money as they make, that shit should never be like that, bro.
All jails are dangerous.
At least for motherfuckers who get a parking ticket or, you know, you ain't killed nobody. You might have did some wrong shit, embezzlement or fucking trafficking, whatever, man.
It really entails yet. So I would assume that they're just being overcautious because he's not like your average.
But you argue with your girlfriend, she call the police, you go to jail.
He has a lot of prestige, and
you bunking with murderers and shit, man. It's great.
On in the jail with him, but I'm sure he's going to need a little bit more of protective coverage in the jail.
I'm wondering if that's why they placed him on suicide watch now, kind of what you were saying, protective coverage, because he is such a high-profile inmate. Do you think that could be part of it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know, going from a life where you live in a mansion to going to sit in a jail facility is not something easy to deal with.
Sticky.
Also, whenever we're thinking about cases like this, the big federal ones and just similar allegations, I go to Jeffrey Epstein, and obviously we know what happened there. He never was able to make it to trial because he died by suicide.
Man,
I still is trying to avoid here to make sure
that's interesting topic
don't
too.
Actually die by suicide.
Well, of course. I mean, a jail has a responsibility.
People saying they didn't seen that man.
It's a jail. People
over
in the
Cuba
jail, in that jail, are being held. They're presumed innocent, and there's a responsibility, since the person's not free to do what they want, to protect them and to make sure that they're mentally stable and that they're protected.
When I heard suicide watch, my mind went to Rex Heuermann, who's the alleged Go-Go Beach killer. Obviously, he is still presumed innocent at this time, but I do recall after he was arrested, he was placed on suicide watch. And I'm wondering if that's just kind of another thing, because it was a big case, a big name, that he was not suicidal at the time, and it's possible now that P. Diddy isn't suicidal.
That's something that's very difficult to really answer, because we're not doing the interviews of the inmate. The inmate gets an evaluation when they come in. They get checked for their health, their physical health, as well as their mental health, and that's where those sort of decisions are made. It's not just sort of something because it's P. Diddy we're putting him in. They have to have some sort of facts to substantiate that.
Let's say moving forward that they determine, okay, he's fine, he is not a risk for suicide, he's good to go. Do you think that P. Diddy could ever be placed in general population? Obviously, he's someone that a lot of people know. First of all, high profile. But then also he's got some pretty severe allegations that he's up against. Would he be safe in Gen Pop?
Hell no.
That's a very difficult question, I think, because of his... If I was his attorney, I would want to make sure that he was being kept in a place where he's safe and not be used as some sort of way that some inmate may want to just move their street credibility, for lack of a better term, by just saying, yeah, I went after P. Diddy because, you know, he wasn't supposed to be doing those things and all that. So it's a very difficult situation when someone that famous and well known in this kind of case is put into general population. So it's going to be a major concern for the institution that is holding them.
Now, let's take a look back at the timeline leading up to Diddy's arrest and the allegations that led to Diddy's indictment. Shocking federal charges brought against once beloved music icon Sean P. Diddy Combs now could be his complete fall from grace.
I mean, it was only a year ago that he got the key to the city here in New York, and now here he is indicted in the Southern District, right? So what happened in a year for someone to have fallen so far?
But what led up to these serious federal charges? We're talking to criminal defense attorney Adam Conta to break down the timeline leading up to Diddy's arrest. I'm Sierra Gillespie, and this is Law and Crime News. Now, starting off from where we're at right now, Diddy faces three federal charges.
We ain't gonna do that, because this is always some gaming. So make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe, and hit that bell twice for post notifications. Shout out to Law and Crime, which I already have in the bag. I'm trying to get it back off YouTube, respectfully. Now back to it. Okay.
2022.
Bad, y'all.
Now, let's take
The pineal gland has tiny little cilia, hair-like extensions all around. When you hold your breath and you finally let your breath out and you allow that cerebrospinal fluid to accelerate, the acceleration of that cerebrospinal fluid
Take a look back at the timeline leading up to Diddy's arrest and the allegations that led to Diddy's indictment. Shocking federal charges brought against once beloved music icon Sean P. Diddy Combs now could be his complete fall from grace.
I mean, it was only a year ago that he got the key to the city here in New York, and now here he is indicted in the Southern District, right? So what happened in a year for someone to have fallen so far?
But what led up to these serious federal charges? We're talking to criminal defense attorney Adam Conta to break down the timeline leading up to Diddy's arrest. I'm Sierra Gillespie, and this is Law and Crime News. Now, starting off from where we're at right now, Diddy faces three federal charges of racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution. So how did
that's
we
three
get
charges.
We have to head back to the 1990s, when Diddy first rose to fame after creating the record label Bad Boy Records that represented artists like the notorious B.I.G. or Biggie Smalls. It was during this time frame that Diddy allegedly sexually assaulted multiple women in New York. We first learned about these allegations in November of last year, when Joy Dickerson Neal and Liza Gardner filed separate civil suits against Diddy. Gardner says her assault happened back in 1990 when she met Diddy at a work event.
That was the year I was
She
born,
allegedly
1990,
raped
yeah.
her and later choked her to the point that she
Call me
passed
old.
out.
Yeah, young
The
motherfuckers
next
in
year,
here.
in
Don't be talking about
1991,
old.
Joy Dickerson
Nigga,
Neal
old.
says Diddy raped her while she was a student at Syracuse University. She says Diddy even recorded this alleged sexual assault and passed the tape around to other people. So these things allegedly happened in the early 90s, but they're not made public then. As the years pass by, Diddy's
I can't
career
roll no
just
baggies
keeps
like
on
that.
gaining steam. By the late 90s, Diddy himself begins putting out
Perfect.
songs, even snagging his first 2 Grammys in 1998. But the following year marks the next stop on the Diddy timeline, the New York nightclub shooting. 3 people were shot, though no one suffered any life-threatening injuries. Diddy, the rapper Shine, and a man named Jamal Barrow were all arrested, and so was Diddy's then-girlfriend Jennifer Lopez. J-Lo's charges were dropped, but both Diddy and Shine went to trial. Diddy was acquitted, but Shine was convicted on charges of attempted murder and criminal possession of a weapon. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Now, in recent months, there's been allegations that Shine took the fall for Diddy, and on top of that he forced J-Lo to carry an illegal weapon. All of
I ain't
this
gonna
leads us into the
lie.
new millennium.
A lot of people
A
was
woman,
saying
only
that
identified as Jane Doe, says Diddy
since
raped
way
her in
back then.
2003 when she was just 17. In the lawsuit she filed last year, she included pictures of herself at Diddy's recording studio in New York. From there, we fast forward to late 2005 or 2006, when Diddy met Cassandra Ventura, who would later be known publicly as the singer Cassie. According to Cassie's lawsuit, she started working with Diddy when she was just 19 years old, and he was 37. She says Diddy began, quote, almost immediately asserting possession and control over her, and inserting himself into all aspects of her career and her personal life. That includes things like forcing Cassie to use illegal drugs and have sex with prostitutes as Diddy watched or masturbated. She also alleges he reported many of these interactions. The next stop on the Diddy timeline is 2011, when Cassie had a brief flirtatious relationship with rapper Kid Cudi. She says that in 2012, Diddy told her that he was going to blow up Kid Cudi's car and that he wanted to ensure that Kid Cudi was home with his friends when it happened. Around that time, Kid Cudi's car exploded in his driveway. From there, we have to hop to September 2022, when Rodney Jones, also known as Lil Rod, began working with Diddy. For the next year and a half, Lil Rod alleges he suffered abuse, all at the hands of Diddy himself. At times, Lil Rod says Diddy touched his private areas without consent and forced Lil Rod to watch him shower or have naked body massages. Lil Rod says Diddy, quote, attempted to groom Mr. Jones into engaging in gay sex. Then, in 2023, Cassie filed a lawsuit against Diddy under the New York Survivors Act, meaning a sexual assault survivor could file civil suit against their alleged abuser regardless of the statute of limitations. So Cassie filed that suit on November 16th of last year, and though it was settled just one day later, the damage was already done. Before the year's end, Diddy also faced lawsuits from Liza Gardner, Joy Dickerson-Neal, and Jane Doe. After this, Hulu dropped plans for a reality show called Diddy Plus 7 that was supposed to be about the singer and his family. At the same time, other major brands that he had worked with over the years severed ties. That brings us to February 26, 2024, when Lil Rod filed his lawsuit. Just about a month later, on March 25th, federal investigators raided 2 of Diddy's homes in both Los Angeles and Miami. The same day, Diddy's alleged drug mule, Brendan Paul, was arrested at the Miami airport. He was charged with cocaine and marijuana possession, but avoided any jail time with a plea deal.
Damn. See, I didn't know. Dude was saying that. I knew he came out and said something. But I didn't know he was touching on him or allegedly touching on him and, you know, making him watch and get massages naked and shit is crazy. That's kind of wild.
This game, you're not ready for it.
They say money
that
is the
required
root
him
of
to
all
enter
what?
a drug diversion program. That moves us to April 4th, when Diddy is named a co-defendant in yet another civil lawsuit, this time involving the sexual assault of a woman on a yacht. Diddy's son, Christian, or King Combs, is also listed in the suit. Over the next few weeks, Diddy then files motions to dismiss several of the civil lawsuits against him. But he makes news once again on May 17th when CNN releases shocking surveillance video showing Diddy brutally attack Cassie in a hotel hallway. 2 days later, on May 19th, Diddy posted this to his Instagram.
I was stuck. I mean, I hit rock bottom. But I made no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video. I'm disgusted. I was disgusted then when I did it. I'm disgusted now. I went and I sought out professional help. Now they're going to therapy. They're going to rehab. Had asked God for his mercy and grace. I'm so sorry. I'm committed to be a better man each and every day. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm truly sorry.
2 days after that post, Crystal McKinney filed suit against Diddy, alleging he drugged her and sexually assaulted her back in 2003. All that brings us to September 11th, when singer Dawn Richard filed another civil suit against
this is
Diddy,
all I want to say.
alleging he
Right. And this is not defending Diddy. But all I'm saying is, if that shit happened when it happened, why wait till somebody else came out and say something for you to say, oh yeah, this happened, such and such. So, cause that just kind of make it kind of crazy, man. You know, what if all these motherfuckers was lying? Now, I'm not gonna say they all lying. Of course, they seen a video with Cassie or whatever. And I'm not taking Diddy's side, but I'm just saying, man, you got to think about it like that. People want a money grab. This nigga owns a part of Twitter and been having millions since the 90s. All type of $1 million deals. So, of course, when somebody that interacted with you or whatever, you know, they might not be on that level of money and whatever. You know what I'm saying? So for a chance to get some piece of that, some of them they gotta be lying. Some of them. But hey, we gonna find out, huh? We gonna definitely find out. Cause you got to think about it. A lot of these girls are party girls. What the fuck? If you rich, it's sites and what you call that shit? Escort places where you can go. Hey man, I'm in town. I want to chill with a few nice ladies.
Inappropriately imprisoned her and even threatened her life. All this leads us to Monday, September 16th, when Diddy is indicted by a grand jury on federal charges. At about 8:30 that night, he was taken into custody by Homeland Security at the Park Hyatt in New York. The indictment was unsealed on September 17th, charging Diddy with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution. The court doc details accusations dating back to 2009, alleging Diddy had a pattern of illegal activity over the course of more than a decade. And it's those alleged illegal activities that led us here to this federal indictment. To understand more, we now turn to criminal defense attorney Adam Conta. Okay, so this is a story we've been following for 6 months, more than that. Since the federal raids, we've been kind of seeing this coming, didn't really know when, and now the indictment finally came down. So just at that point, what are your initial thoughts about this indictment?
Well, I mean, I think it's a real problem for him. It lays out what they believe is a pattern of illegal activity, all in the names and the furtherance of the Combs enterprise. I think it lacks some details, but we have, because this is an ongoing investigation and because it's sort of been in the public sphere for a while, we have more details than we normally would.
Now, since a kid,
they've laid out a pattern.
Oh, look at this man eyebrows, bro. Like, why your eyebrows like that? It's kind of scary, bro. And I'm not gonna lie, I haven't never seen nobody else eyebrows like this. It's kind of weird. I mean, right here, he kind of do look like Big Boy. Shout out to Big Boy. Shout out to the A. But man, bro, look at his eyebrows, dude. All up in here. Those shits look like horns. But now, Diddy done did a lot of good shit too now. You know. But we'll see. Like I said, man, I just feel like it's kind of fucked up. Not for us. We like fans and we don't know what the fuck is going on. But for the people that's around Diddy, and y'all was all at these parties with bruh and, you know, having a good time and doing business with him. As soon as this shit start coming down and shit start happening, where the fuck did everybody go? So that make, and they might not see it now, but that's gonna make people question y'all. You know what I'm saying? I know I am, but I'm not, because it's like, shit, that ain't my life. But it's interesting to see, I'll tell you that.
Conspiracy and racketeering that they've charged him with. But part of that is obviously that one of the victims is his ex-girlfriend Kathy, who filed this major lawsuit last year in November against him. But we kind of have the details from that lawsuit as well. So we can kind of insert those as really the jump off point to how he got here now today. But he's got some real legal challenges ahead of him. Absolutely.
Talking about the indictment really quick before we go into the timeline, I was kind of surprised at the length of it. It's only about 14 pages. There's only 3 charges. And as you said, there's not that much information in it. So is it possible that the feds are going to add more, or what would that look like?
It could be, but the fact that there's racketeering involved, I mean, what racketeering essentially is that the federal government thinks that they can prove that he broke 2 specific laws in this sort of group of 35 that make up these kind of racketeering eligible charges. And so if they can get over that hurdle, even though there are only 3 counts, and I was surprised too that it wasn't a lengthier indictment with a lot more.
I don't care, man. I'm with AK, man. They attacking that man. They attacking him too. At the same time, you know, he ain't all the way right. Okay, but who the fuck perfect? You know what I'm saying? Motherfuckers be out here beating on motherfuckers and doing shit too, man. So you know, but I guess when you got a lot of money, it's easy to go here. Oh, fuck that motherfucker. I mean, he ain't had that money like that when nobody know who he is for him to do that. And that's kind of a good thing. But at the same time, it's like, man, so it got to be some type of understanding of all the shit that's going on, too. This nigga sue Ciroc. Then all of a sudden, this shit is going on. P.Diddy. So I'm just making it make sense. You know what I'm saying? And then him being with all that money, 3 little charges like that. I don't know, man. Or it could be a front. You know, he working with the folks, making it look one way to get publicity or to change the narrative or some shit. Who knows, man? But like I said, it's interesting to watch. It's for entertainment purposes only. You know what I'm saying? We'll see. Oh yeah, Mike Tyson and what's your name fighting on the 15th of November too. We'll wait to see that. I think they said Holyfield said dude will knock him out in 30 seconds. That's gonna be interesting.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
More detail in it. The counts that are there are enough to put him in jail for a long time. And, you know, we can't gloss over the fact that there were a couple defaced AR-15s there. There was an unknown amount of narcotics there.
Whoa. So they found broken down ARs at your house. Why do you got broken down AR-15s at your house? Unless that's son in them. Man, now see, that's I didn't know he got caught narcotics and fucking what's his name. But that's most celebrities too, man. They getting fucking high. They smoking weed. They might do some coke. That's been for years. So there's nothing out of her. But man, this shit's getting crazy. Man. This shit's wild.
Including meth and other prescription drugs that were illegally obtained, allegedly. And so I think what the public is going to be looking for is a lot of details on the sex trafficking, on the kidnapping.
That motherfucker might really got a problem.
On the sex-related crimes. That's kind of
got
what
that
the
money,
public likes to
man.
sink their teeth into.
Fucking going crazy.
And I'm sure we're going to be hearing the term freak-offs a lot over the coming days and weeks, because that's the soundbite that you immediately get from this indictment. But if you're looking for more details on sort of the torrid and terrible things he's done to these alleged victims over the years, then the indictment does not have a lot of explanation.
You brought up a good point about the pattern, showing that Diddy had a pattern to break the law in this many ways. And it all goes back kind of to Cassie and the civil suit that she filed. Obviously, they had a relationship for several years. She alleges some pretty serious accusations against him. So how important is Cassie going to be in regards to this federal case?
Well, she's going to be incredibly important in terms of her lawsuit is really what opened up the public's attention to it. And so that's really what got everyone going. That's what got the authorities looking into her more. I mean, it was only a year ago that he got the key to the city here in New York. And now here he is indicted in the Southern District, right? So what happened in a year for someone to have fallen so far and not just got the keys to the city a year ago? He was, what was he? He was given like the Lifetime Achievement Award in the VMAs. That was just last year too. I mean, this is someone who is at the top of the public sphere in terms of reverence, in terms of respect, in terms of what they mean to the city and to the community. And for it to turn around this fast, I think we have to look directly at Cassie and her lawsuit filed on November 16th. And even though they settled it a day later, again, the details of what was alleged got out there. And then what that really did, just like the Me Too movement, it started other people who are alleged victims of his thinking, well, maybe now is my time to come forward. If in fact that they felt threatened by Diddy, if in fact
Lil Wayne doing wrestling now. They ain't gonna pay dude the bag too. Open up some wrestling. I've been stopped watching wrestling. I'm a Stone Cold, what's his name? Undertaker. What's his name? McNulty. Some shit like that. That's my not today. Yeah, man, it's just wild to see.
In fact, they were coerced not to say anything through violent threats, through physical threats, through emotional threats, and potentially of having whatever acts they committed with Diddy being recorded and even having those used against them as electronic threats. After Cassie's lawsuit, they started to come out, and then you saw another lawsuit in December. And then another one, and another one, and so there were a couple that came out that really started steamrolling this sort of this change in a public opinion of him, just like happened with R. Kelly. Although these are separate charges and they have not been proven like R. Kelly's, but just like in R. Kelly, it took the public a little while to kind of get around this notion of this pop superstar who we've grown to love for decades, and now kind of peel back the onions to his personal persona that could be quite disturbing. And so, even though she is not going to be, she might not be doing interviews, and she might not be out there sort of as the public figurehead of this indictment, she's certainly at the genesis of it and is the reason this whole thing got rolling.
It's really like all roads lead back to Cassie's lawsuit because, as you said, it spurred other people to come forward and feel comfortable sharing their stories. But what I'm wondering about this is, okay, so it was filed one day. The next day, it settled completely. I'm wondering why Diddy even took it that far. Like, why didn't he settle outside of court before she even filed publicly so that these allegations wouldn't get out?
You can go back in time and look at every single case like this, and you can ask that same question, and on the other side of it, it's saying, yeah, I should have paid him off immediately. I should have done this way back when. I mean, you can look at it at Harvey Weinstein, you can look at it at Diddy. Now, to be fair, what that would ultimately be doing is paying off reprehensible activity and paying for just monstrous conduct, if you believe what has been alleged. But we understand the world in which we live in, and that payoffs and settlements and civil suits are a part of this world. And there is no logical reason why he wouldn't have paid off anyone in the path of filing something like this, because you can't recork this bottle. You know, it's impossible. And if he could go back in time, I'm sure he would have given Cassie, $100 million to make away at this point. But it's impossible. And I think it's, he could be looking at obviously not just a significant change in his life moving forward in the public sphere, but he could be looking at real jail time. I mean, we're sitting here doing this interview right now. We don't know not Diddy's going to get bail or if he's going to get released. He has one of the best attorneys in the country, Mark Agnifilo, tremendous attorney. But I think that they could very easily keep him in. He's a flight risk, and he's alleged of doing some really heinous things, even in this brief indictment.
Going back to the indictment, it kind of outlines a bit of a timeline. We talked about the pattern. It meant the year 2009 when these things started happening, or that's at least when it dates back to. But we've seen some civil suits against Diddy that date back to the 90s, way farther than 2009. So why weren't those things listed or included?
I think it's one of those things that they try to include what they can prove or what they feel like they can prove. And sometimes charges are just too remote to have enough credibility to add to an indictment like this. So even if they believe that those incidents happened, I think as far back as 1991, even if they believe those happened, it just might not be pertinent to proving this case and these charges.
Obviously, 2009 is a lot more recent than the 90s, but it's still 15 years ago. I mean, technology has changed since then. People have moved on, died, forgotten things. How are they going to prove the things all the way back in 2009 that they're alleging?
Well, I mean, a lot of it from what it sounds like, and again, we're learning all this in real time, but it sounds like from him. I mean, once the police caught wind of Cassie's lawsuit and really started going forward in investigating him, that obviously led to the raids that took place in March in his Miami homes and his LA homes. Raided those homes, they found not just guns, not just drugs, but electronic devices, which is really ultimately what they were looking for there. Everything else that I just named is sort of like a cherry on top, because what they wanted, what they were looking for, and what they got was hard drives. And on those hard drives, allegedly, are some of these acts being videotaped and taping them without their consent, potentially, holding on to them without their consent, potentially. And really started going forward in investigating him. That obviously led to the raids that took place in March in his Miami homes and his LA homes. And when they raided those homes, they found not just guns, not just drugs, but electronic devices, which is really ultimately what they were looking for there. Everything else that I just named is sort of like a cherry on top, because what they wanted, what they were looking for, and what they got was hard drives. And on those hard drives, allegedly, are some of these acts being videotaped and taping them without their consent, potentially, holding on to them without their consent, potentially. But aside from those issues, which may or may not exist, they also may lay out a pattern of abuse. They might show abusive behavior. They might show unwanted narcotic consumption or sex that had been denied and then sort of forced upon. We just don't know yet. But I think a lot of the evidence, especially for those older cases, may come from his own recordings.
Going back to those federal raids where we got those recordings, or the feds, I should say, rather, got those recordings, it's been 6 months since then. So, I mean, half a year that Diddy could have guessed potentially these indictments are coming down against him. What was his team doing to prepare? I mean, I'm sure that they were trying to prepare for whatever could be brought against them, but what do you think was happening?
I think they were trying to coordinate with the U.S. Attorney's Office, be as cooperative as possible.
Anyone with $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans may qualify for help from National Debt Relief. Minimum payments.
I wonder if I'm about to ask that too.
While trying to achieve their ultimate goal, which was not getting prosecuted at all. So yes, they absolutely knew this was coming. Today is not a surprise to Diddy. Today is not a surprise to Diddy's lawyers. But in the meantime, leading up to this, there's been a lot of, I'm sure there's been meetings, I'm sure there's been discussions. I'm sure there's been a lot done to try to avoid this very moment, to show that any of these incidents were either consensual or that they just lacked any sort of criminality. And so, I think that the legal team has probably been working on this since before March, probably since November. They could see something like this potentially coming. And so I'm sure that he's had a team of people looking to avoid this day specifically for a long time. But it was just, I think, inevitable with the amount of evidence it seems like is out there.
So that's the defense side of things. But this half-a-year time frame, maybe more than that, also is what the prosecution had to kind of build their case against Diddy. So that lengthy time frame, do you think that was helpful for them, that they were kind of doing the same thing he was?
Oh yeah. They were doing much more, I'm sure, because the feds don't bring a case unless they already know that they can prove it. That's just the way it works. If the feds don't think they can prove a case, then it's going to go to state court, and they'll let the state courts handle it there. But they don't arrest someone until they already feel like they've got the goods. So in the last 6 months, they haven't just been going through those computers. They haven't just been looking at what was recovered. They've been interviewing and flipping people, 1,000%. They've been talking to his associates. They've been talking to his former employees. They've been looking for more victims to corroborate stories. And when they find those employees and they find those victims, they use those stories to corroborate each other and to corroborate other claims. And so I'm sure that there's going to be many people up the hierarchy of the Combs enterprise, which is really just Bad Boy Records and his sort of media empire. They're going to find people along the way. It could be housekeepers, it could be gardeners, it could be record executives. You just don't know because there's so many people named along the list of potential witnesses here that it's almost impossible to predict how many witnesses the federal government could have at this point. And so that's what they've been doing for the last 6 months.
And I know this is so far out because the indictment just came down yesterday. It could be quite a while until this actually goes to jury trial. But that's what everybody is wondering. That's when we're going to get a lot of the information. So when it does come time for that, what are you thinking? I mean, you just talked about the dozens of witnesses that they could have. I mean, the defense, I'm sure, is going to bring a pretty strong case. What would it look like?
Well, today is a day for strength. So today is a day for everyone to go out there, no matter what side you're on, and say, my guy's 1,000% innocent. And the prosecution's going to go out there and say, this guy's 1,000% guilty, and here's why. And so today is just posturing more than anything, even if they did know it was coming. But when we get to that point, when we get down the line, and you're looking at an actual trial, he's going to face a lot of time. And if there are teeth to these arguments, which I don't know if there are yet, but these are real allegations, to risk going to trial in the face of what could be insurmountable evidence, especially with what was just recovered at his house, the drugs, the guns, things like that, then I don't think the public should be holding their breath for a trial here.
So that means a plea deal. What would that look like?
Could look like anything at this point. I really don't know. But if he goes to trial and loses, I mean, he could be looking at the rest of his life if they want to run things certain ways. And so if he comes to a point and recognizes that there's just no reasonable, logical path out of this, then, I have no idea what a plea could look like. But, I mean, it would still be a serious amount of time and a serious dollar amount of forfeiture. But they just have so many resources available to them in the federal government. They have the ability to just have unlimited time and money put into proving a case. Man. And if they're at this point now, you just don't see a lot of trials in the federal system that lead to full acquittal.
Case. I know they making so much money. Whoever the lawyers, the judge, they making so much
cases they bring. And so, I am so curious to see how this holds, because again, I think he's got a tremendous lawyer, and this is an indictment that's pretty thin on details. But I still don't think that means that we should all be holding our breath for an imminent trial on the horizon.
Well, I'm just gonna keep it real, man. I know he's talking about that he could get a long time and all of that, but I don't know, man. We gotta see about it. We're gonna see. At the end of the day, man, the man ain't killed nobody, man. You see what I'm saying? But Ain't no telling what's on them tapes too, man.
Were you recently injured in a car accident? Look at this check for $160,000.
Diddy, man. No. It's just wild, man. P. Diddy is in jail, bro. It's 2024, man. P. Diddy in jail, y'all. That nigga, I don't even want to say that. Y'all seen the video.
Bottom line, there's a lot of evidence. Both sides, I'm sure, are going to be going through this in discovery. A lot going on. And as you said, it does sound like the prosecution has a pretty strong case.
That lady ain't
Then we
blink her
talked about
eyes yet.
the plea deal, too. I don't know. I'm wondering, is it possible that Diddy gets off, that he doesn't serve any jail time?
Well, it's just too early to say. I mean, is it possible? Sure. Is it likely? No, not really. These are serious charges. They're serious allegations. And they're brought by the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York, an office that has more money than some small countries. So I think that he is fighting an uphill battle, but he has the best possible resources and the best allies in his attorney to be able to do that. And so I don't think it's likely that he would get off, but if there is a mistake here, and if there are errors along the way in this investigation, then he's got the right people to uncover them. From what it looks like, right, in this indictment, that he's charged with not necessarily having sex with some of these women, but he's charged with potentially masturbating as he recorded them having sex with male sex workers that he had flown
he's
in.
beat his joint.
So if he didn't do any of the sex acts himself, but was responsible for the recording, the applying of drugs, things like that,
but see, what might get him off too, he was doing drugs. I think it was high as hell.
You know, he wasn't actually doing the sex acts themselves, and then maybe there's some wiggle room there. But
this ain't nothing. This is another Cosby, bro.
That's a tough case.
Diddy was taken into custody on Monday night, but still maintains his innocence. A statement from his legal team reads, quote, Sean Diddy Combs is a music icon, self-made entrepreneur, loving family man, and proven philanthropist who has spent the last 30 years building an empire, adoring his children, and working to uplift the Black community. He is an imperfect person, but is not criminal. To his credit, Mr. Combs has been nothing but cooperative with this investigation, and he voluntarily relocated to New York last week in anticipation of these charges. Please reserve your judgment until you have all the facts. These are the acts of an innocent man with nothing to hide, and he looks forward to clearing his name in court. That's a look at the timeline so far, but there's sure to be more developments ahead, so make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss an update. For Long Prime, I'm Sierra Gillespie.
Picture this. You're sitting at home alone watching YouTube videos, wondering why you can't find the motivation to do the things you need or...
And you making them. Yeah, so that concludes that, you guys. I'm about to get off this joint for a minute. I might pop back on, man. Go live. React to some more shit. Some funny shit. I don't know. I just like to smoke and chill and go live now. Shout out to OBS. Yeah, man. This has been a new view of the new for the YouTube. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell twice for post notifications.